I was speaking every day, and he was like, Yitza, what you are doing is called mass psychology. I get the honor to help them with their healing. For 20 years, I was looking for my purpose. I remember I finished school with 18. I went to study law. I just kept searching and doing different things. I would go to the psychologist and I would say, I cannot do this. This is too much. You killed her boyfriend. I cannot help her. And he would say, Lisa, you can go back, do your thing.
This is the Promise of Possibility podcast, sharing stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things so you can be inspired to do so too. I'm Aruka Bohar. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to the Promise of Possibility podcast, season 2. I am so happy to have you here, and I am so excited about our guest. I have known her for a very long time, since we were very young, and I have followed her from a distance, and her journey is absolutely inspiring. You know, the reason I do this podcast is so you can be inspired to continue to tell your story or pick it up and start a new chapter. And our guest today absolutely is a testament to that. Yithza, it's so good to have you on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here today.
Yes, I have. Well, we've known each other for a long time. I remember I used to be friends with your cousins, Sandra and Renata,
Yes, yes,
when I was, yes, in elementary school. And I have this vision of, I think there was a party at their house, and I have you in my mind when you were very young. Obviously, we were, a little bit difference of age, but I have this vision of you. And after that, we caught up again because we had, we were in the same circle of friends.
yeah,
And I remember I lost sight of you. My husband, he said, this woman from Curacao that's doing really like inspiring stuff. She has this thing, she has like a video coming up every morning. I'm like, I know her very well. And I loved what you were doing. That's now years back, but you have absolutely, I'm not going to dive into it. I'm going to let you share it with us. But I want to go on the journey from, I know a little bit about your journey and what led you to do what you do today. But I also, besides what everybody knows and talks about, I want to dive into the entrepreneurial part as well.
yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a grief coach. So, like most part of the day,
Mhm.
I'm having one-on-one sessions with people who lost their loved ones or divorced, broken relationships, or they lost themselves and they don't know why or how to find themselves. And that's what I do during the week. In the weekends, I give group coaching sessions. I have a year program of personal development that I made myself. And
Amazing.
I have two groups walking every year with me, and that I do on the Saturdays. So that's what I do mostly. I'm also, right now, I'm developing online programs. And
Amazing.
I just wrote my first book, as you know. So,
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about that too.
yes.
You are very busy. Okay,
Yeah,
so yes, let's dive into the grief recovery special, that the work that you do during the week. And
yeah,
there's a beautiful story that led to that, which I can absolutely relate to because, a similar story happened to me. Obviously, it led me to a different path, but the fact that you found your passion through circumstances that led to grief. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. So in November of 2012, we heard that my mom had inflammatory breast cancer. It was her second time with cancer. And you go online to see what is this, what can we expect. And I could read that she would have like a maximum of 2 years to live. And it's weird, but in that moment you think that everything will stop, that you cannot handle it, but you just keep on living
Okay.
with this knowledge. But I remember feeling very lonely, and it's weird because we were a lot together as a family and with a close group of friends. We really did this journey together, but it was more doing things together, fun stuff, making her last. It was 1 year and 2 months, making her last 1 year and 2 months like the best she had.
Hmm.
Emotionally, it was very lonely because we did not talk about how we felt. We did not talk about losing your mom while she's still alive,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the mom that you knew, little by little, you were losing her. So
Yes.
that part was very lonely, and I did not know who to turn to or what to do.
Hmm.
So this is like the biggest part of why I started doing what I am doing. I was like, I want to help people to get the knowledge that they
Yeah.
need so they would not be alone in this journey. What I notice about myself, for me, it's very important that the people feel that they're not alone, especially when they're in one-on-one sessions. Most of the times it's like they walked for 2 months with me,
Yeah.
and in those 2 months they know you can WhatsApp me whenever you need to. I'm here for you, even when they are done with the sessions. Most of the time the last session is like a grief session,
I can imagine.
even the end of us. And I
Yes.
always tell them, this is not the end. I will always be here for you. I'm just one WhatsApp away. And sometimes people ask me like, how can you do that? How can you handle all those people? No, they don't really need you that much. People, they can do a lot themselves, but just the thought that there's someone there if you need it, that gives so
Yes.
much peace, and it helps
Absolutely.
with healing. So for me, that's very, very important in how I run my business and how I deal with the people that cross my path, that I get the honor to help them with their healing.
Hey there, friend. I hope you're enjoying the episode and that you're being inspired. You see, the reason I started the Promise of Possibility podcast was because I wanted to encourage you to realize that your story is far from over. So many times we put our passions aside or we give up on our dreams because life happens or we have responsibilities and we just think it might be too late. But I have something to tell you. It's never too late and you're not too old. Promise of possibility is everywhere. And there's one thing that can take you from where you are today to where you want to be. And that is building your personal brand. You see, I have worked with brands all over the world as a marketer, and I've built my own as a recording artist and singer. And I want to give you the tools to do the same. And so I built a quiz for you to see just where you are on this personal branding journey. Or if you want to know more about it, this quiz will do the same. And you know you like a good quiz. So don't do anything else after you finish watching the podcast. Go to marujabogaert.com/quiz. That's marujabogaert.com/quiz and see just where you are on your personal branding journey. I can't wait to see what you do with that. But for now, let's dive back in and continue to be inspired by today's episode. I'll see you there. Having gone through it myself, I was in the pinnacle of my music career when my mom had a stroke and then had another stroke. And so I gave up everything. And I don't say that as in, oh, I gave it up. Obviously, it was a natural decision. But I remember, and you just do, you have to get through it, right? You just
Yeah.
do, and you make sure you're there for her, etc. And then after she and my dad actually passed away very similar, like within a very short span of each other. But see, now I see that my friends are passing through it, like little by little. But back then, when my dad died, none of my friends had lost a parent before. When my mom passed away a year later, my best friend had just lost her mom, so I could talk to her a little bit. And I think I had already gone through, having gone through it with my father, it kind of, but then all of a sudden you feel like, oh my God, I have no siblings. I have no mom or dad. It's like you feel completely lost. So the work that you do is so incredibly valuable. It's not only the grief of a loved one, I mean, of having lost somebody, but
Mm.
absolutely what you're saying, the grief of losing yourself, or even, a marriage, or, there's so many forms of grief. And I think I read that if you say there are 43 forms of grief, right?
Yes.
And yeah, so I can absolutely imagine, because for me, it took more than 10 years to actually find myself again after that. Like, I
Mhm.
walked away from music completely, just because for me, it was that connection with them had to do with the music. And it took COVID for me to actually kind of, like, think about things, and really get back to myself. So I can imagine that for your clients, it's like an oasis in the desert.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And what led you to think, this is what I'm going to do? And, like, what was that journey like? Was it when your mom was still alive, or was it after she passed away that you were searching and thought, this is what I'm going to do?
Mm. Um, I think it's interesting to talk about my journey before her illness too.
Yes.
For 20 years, I was looking for my purpose. I remember I finished school with 18. I went to study law. I did the first year, the propageutical year, but I didn't like it. And after that, for 20 years, I just kept searching and doing different things,
Wow.
never finding my happiness. And I
Mm.
was like, everyone was like, you're a quitter. Every time you quit things so fast. I
My
never
God.
stayed for more than 1.5 years in something, whether it was a business or a job or a new study. I just, every time I felt like, this is not it, I would quit.
Hmm.
So when my mom was sick, at that time, I was not working.
Hmm.
And it was good because I could be there for them, for my dad, because my two other sisters, they were working the whole day. So it was convenient for me to just be there for them. So
Yeah.
after my mom died, I remember it was like a few months, 2 or 3 months after she died, I was sitting in my living room and just staring in front of me and thinking like, what am I going to do with my life now? Because when she was sick, she was taking up like 24/7 of your time.
Yes. Yes.
So when she
Oh,
died, it was like this huge void that entered your life. So I was sitting in my living room and I was like, what am I going to do? And at that point it was like, like a download, like you're going to help people who went through the same thing that you went through. And I remember I started searching immediately for courses in grief, and I was like, okay, no, I can't start with grief. I have to know counseling first. And I remember I found an online college in Canada. So for 6 months, I was doing counseling skills with them. After that, I did 6 months of grief and loss counseling skills with them. But I remember after a year, I was like, but I don't feel like I can help people with this theory because it was so theoretical. I'm really someone practical. You have to give me what to do and then tell me if you do this, then the consequence will be that. And
exactly.
that's when I bumped online with the grief recovery methods. And I remember I went to New Jersey to learn how to help people. And there is when I realized that I had not grieved my mom. So I
Wow.
was
How long was it since your mom had passed?
1.5 years after her
Wow.
passing.
Wow.
So I was there, and we had to go through the method first ourselves. And I remember I cried so much in those days. I used like a whole box of Kleenex while
Wow.
making the assignments, working on a relationship with my mom, forgiving what I had to forgive, saying sorry for the things that I wish were different, better, or more, thanking her for the things that I did not thank her for.
Yeah.
And I remember when I finished, I was like, everyone should do this.
Oh,
Because
wow.
when I finished, it felt like such a beautiful gift for us, for our
Yeah.
relationship, even with her being that, with her not being here.
Mhm.
It's still like healed something between us. And it was so beautiful. And that was when I remember walking back to the plane, coming to Curacao. I felt like a lightness, like I had been carrying a weight for so long, but unconsciously without knowing it,
Hmm.
because the way we were brought up with dealing with grief was be strong, don't cry. I remember every time my mom would go through a chemo, and after a few weeks you have to test to see if the cancer was still there, or and she would tell us to come sit at a table. She would give us the news, the chemo, it did not work. And she would say, you can cry now, but once you get up from this table, no one cries anymore. So that's the way we were brought up, and that's the way most of us were brought up, since when we were a child. Like, big children don't cry, guys don't cry. If you have to cry, go to your room. When you're ready, you come back.
Yeah,
Wash your face. People don't have to know that you're sad. That's the knowledge that we have since our childhood. So when life kicks us down and things happen, we go through our head to find the knowledge to deal with it. And the knowledge that we get is don't cry, be strong. People don't have to know, do this alone. And that's why emotionally it feels so lonely. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I want to be like an ambassador to spread this news that it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to cry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to feel, because that's the normal and natural way our body processes grief.
That's so beautiful. That's absolutely true. And you're so right. And I think there's something that our kids almost, even if we raise them a certain way in school, teachers expect them to, especially boys. I had this conversation with my 10-year-old the other day. Um, Something hurt him that a friend of his said, and he cried. And he came to me and he said, you know, my friend said, don't be such a child, but I am a child and it's
Yes,
okay to cry. And even if I'm a man, it's okay to cry. And I was like, oh, wow, good for you. That's absolutely true. Crying there's nothing wrong with crying. And I think culture, even if we raise our kids in a certain way, sometimes culture,
yes,
influences, it makes us feel, it's bad if you cry, you're weak if you cry, right? Actually, it's a sign of strength, right? It's a
it
sign that
is.
you're showing emotions. Yeah.
Yes,
Wow. And I want to come back because I read somewhere that you're very passionate about working with schools for this purpose. And I don't know if you still do it, but you used to work with teachers.
yes. I
Um,
used to give courses to teachers about
yeah.
how to deal with grief. I did it for a few years. I went through almost all schools here in Curacao, but after a while, I stopped because a lot of people are not open to it,
Hmm.
especially if they went through something and they did not heal.
Yeah.
Then, when I come with this message, they see me as like I it's like I'm playing in their wounds.
Yeah.
And instead of, being open for the message, they get defensive. So, I was like, I prefer working with someone who is ready and who is open than to try to push my message to all people and want them to change because I know, because I know better, or I know, but it doesn't work that way. So yeah, it doesn't work that way. So that's why I stopped, and that's why I started on social media. I was like, I'm going to speak about it every day, and the ones who want to listen and are open to it, they have me, and the ones who are not ready yet, when they are ready, they will come. And I have lots of stories of people who in the beginning, they're like, I Yithza, no, and her message, and she talks every day on Facebook. I don't know what the
Really?
problem is. Yes. And then, but after a few years, they would become clients and they would say, Yithza, I'm so ashamed the way I was speaking about you, but and they tell me, you were hurting me with your message. You were saying things that I did not want to. I was not ready to hear those things. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just gives me more, power and energy to keep on spreading the news. I think I've done it a lot in my community here in Curacao in Papiamento. And now I'm really ready for the next chapter. Like, okay, I want to go over now to English to reach a bigger community, more
Yes.
people. And yeah, that's where I am right now at the start of that journey.
That's amazing. Obviously, because this is a message that everybody needs to hear. And
Yes.
I want to just trace back for a second about the journey of entrepreneurship because it's interesting. We're talking about the loneliness when when you're going through grief or when you're going through a process with a loved one. Entrepreneurship is also a lonely
Yes.
journey, right?
It is. No.
Especially when people don't understand. And you hit the nail on the head when you said, I
Mhm.
just thought I'm going to show up on social media and I'm going to spread this message. And if they're ready, they'll come. And if they're not, then, fine, then I'm not for them. And it that took a lot of courage because probably you weren't seeing people around you, definitely not, in our community doing that. And then especially if people around you are like, what is she up to? Like, what is she
Mhm.
all about? That takes a lot of courage and determination. And it's so interesting. I just did a boot camp for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs. And I said, when the journey gets hard, your why, knowing your why, the reason why you do it, the purpose that you almost can't not do it, that's
Mhm.
gonna get you through those hard times, and it sounds like that's very much where you were and are. Can you talk to me about how you because it took time to build what you built, and you really built something beautiful, and people recognize you. I saw it the other day on somebody's Facebook, and they said, um, grief recovery specialist Yithza said, and they quoted something that you said, and I was like, "Oh, go girl!" Because I now see people like quoting you, and your name is out there. But that was a journey, and I'm very passionate about personal branding because I think personal branding is a form of entrepreneurship that is purpose led. And that is so important because it's about, helping people. It's about not shining a spotlight on yourself, but about something that is transformational. And
Mhm.
again, you're such a testimony to that. So, can you talk me through that journey, like starting this and just really thinking, this is what I'm going to do because I have witnessed this, I know that it works, and I want to help others? Like, how did that entrepreneurial journey go for you?
You know, in my heart, I was always an entrepreneur
Mhm.
because in my 20 years, I did like a lot of businesses. I did massages. I remember in my 20s going from home to home, giving people chair massage. I would have advertisements on television, so strangers would just send me a message and I would go to their houses. I remember I stopped that when I got pregnant with my first child, so then
Mm.
that's when I stopped giving massages. But I also had a clothing store, I had a restaurant. So entrepreneurship is something that was always in me. I cannot work for people. I don't like it. I love my freedom, and it's ridiculous because I say I love my freedom, but I work more than someone who is working for a boss. But
I
I
hear
just,
you.
yeah, but with this grief, because I really think I was searching the restaurant, the massage, everything. When I started this one, the grief recovery specialist, I remember I came back from, it was New Jersey. I came back from New Jersey and I said, I'm going to start doing this full time because I was working at that time at a hardware store at Koiman.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this. And I remember I was, I went to my parents' house and I walked into a room with books. And I picked out a book it was a book of my mom. And I opened the book, a book that she loved. I opened the book, and I was because I was when I was walking in the home, I was like, give me a sign that I can take this step. Give me a sign." So I went to the shelf. I took out the book. I opened it, and there was a question. And the question was, would you still do this if no one would ever pay you? And I was like, this is a wholehearted yes.
Oh, I
That
love
was my
that.
sign. Yeah. So I went, I quit my job, and I started working. And in the beginning, you don't have a lot of clients, but the clients that came, I remember I was working in an office with three other psychologists. And I remember getting those clients, and then when they would leave, I would go to the psychologist and I would say, I cannot do this. This is too much. This is big. Their grief is big. They killed her boyfriend. I cannot help her. And he would say, Yitza, you can go back, do your thing. I believe in you. And I would get clients and they would sit down and they would say, I went through four psychologists. You're my last hope. And I would go back again. But they went to four psychologists. I cannot do this. I'm their last hope. And he would send me back. You can. You can have. And one by one, I was seeing their transformation. I would literally see that the person who walked in session one would not be the same person who would walk out in session seven. So
Wow.
after 1 to 3 months, I knew this is it. I don't care what you know, I don't care what you have studied. This thing works. And
Yes.
the beauty of it is when they would finish the grief recovery part and we would come to the last session, they would be like, but Yitza, now I want to live my life. I want you to help me further. And I was like, but I'm only a grief recovery specialist. I cannot help you further. I'm not a coach. And they would be like, no, but we want you to help me. And that's how a few months later, I entered the John Maxwell program and I
Right.
became a John Maxwell coach, speaker, and trainer. After that, I bumped into Valerie Burton and I did her positive psychology coaching program. And she brought me in contact with the field of positive psychology. And I'm a nerd, I love to study. I don't love to like go to school or universities and have the program that you want for me. But if something interests me, I would study more than anyone would study. So I read all the books of all the professors of positive psychology. And I started to integrate positive psychology into my grief therapy. And that is, for me, it's like the perfect combination. And that's what I did with my book. So my book it starts with a healing part, but it ends with okay, let's make the rest of our lives the best of our lives now.
Mm,
Um, that's what I'm passionate about. In short, my message is happiness and sadness can coexist.
mm.
You just have to learn how. And I started 10 years ago, but I'm as passionate as I was 10 years ago.
That's amazing. And okay, so it's such a natural segue into your book. Um,
Mhm.
your book in Dutch is called Ik loop even met je mee, but the English version is coming out soon, right?
Yes. And the English version, I call it I'm Here For You
Ah, I love it.
because I was struggling with the title because because we know so many languages, we can just translate it. It can translate "I'll walk with you" in English, but because we are good in those languages, we know that it does not give you the same feeling else as "Ik loop even met je mee." And I'm
Yes.
like, when people pick up my book, the thing of "Ik loop even met je mee" is the way I wrote it in Dutch is really a way that you can practically feel that I'm sitting next to you because that's what I wanted the people to feel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, by translating it to English, starting out it was a little bit difficult because when you translate it, it doesn't give the same feeling. So I'm still like struggling a bit with that. But the title I know is I'm Here for You in Times of Grief.
That's
And
beautiful.
it's coming out in June. So
Amazing.
yeah. I still
So
want to go through it one more time to be sure that it has the same warmth and the feeling that you're not alone in it as the Dutch one. But in June it will be coming out. You can buy it on Amazon, so it's very easy to get. So I'm
yes.
really excited for my book to be available for all the people who can
Yes, for
speak.
anyone in the world, and that's it, because I actually looked on Amazon and I saw the Dutch one, and because you said, obviously I speak Dutch, but English because I lived in English speaking countries for the past 20 years almost. So I'm like, I'm gonna hold out for just a little bit longer. So it's available everywhere. So
All
that's
right. Yes.
amazing, amazing. So
Yes.
when did you think about the book? What was that? Speaking of your journey, what was the point that you thought, okay, I need to put all this down?
Mhm.
Was it a conscious decision of, okay, I reach a bigger market, or was it like that push inside or that pull inside where you go, I just have to do this. I'm so passionate. I have to share this.
It was none of that. That's
Oh,
every time when I look back at my journey, more and more, I really believe that we want to strategize too much. We want to have goals and stuff. But if you trust, the things will unfold naturally. And that's what happened with this book. I remember a few years ago, like it was like 8 years ago, I was reading a book by Brene Brown.
mhm,
And I was reading because I'm a reader. I love to read. And I was reading her book and was thinking, do you think it's possible for me to ever write a book? And I remember I went to look for her age. How old is she? And I was like 39 that at that time, and I was like, and she was like 50. And I was like, do you think that I would have that knowledge and wisdom around 50
mhm,
to publish a book? And it was just a thought, and I let it go.
mhm,
So last year, I went to a business mastermind in Dubai with a Dutch coach. Her name was Naima, and she was teaching me how to make an online program. So I was not thinking about writing a book. I was making an online program, and I wanted to make it a really big program that really supports people. And because it was in Dutch, and Dutch is not my native language, so I cannot speak Dutch as fluently as I speak Papimento. So I was like, you know what? I really have to have the script, and I'll just record it with a prompter because I can read it as if it's natural, but I cannot do it spontaneously like I do, for example, English or
yes,
Papimento.
yes,
I have more difficulties with Dutch. So
same.
I was writing out the script, and I remember and finishing the script, I was like, but these are a lot of words. Could this be a book? And that's when I turned the online program into a book. And that I did in 2 weeks. So,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
the script was already there. The script was there. So,
Wow.
that's how the book came about. But the beauty of it is that it made me see that, for example, because this is my first book, but I have my second book already because I told you in the beginning I have a year program of personal development. And it's really a program to, when you follow this program, in the end, you can really be very happy, have a happy life. And I was like, but this program is also a book. So, and my sister's like, Yitza, 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 listen, do this one first, market this one first, and next year and in 2 years you will start because I'm about deadlines. And then I want to have a deadline. I want to have the new book. I'm always on a deadline that I put for myself. So, but yes, the way of seeing writing books like this, I'm like, everyone can write a book like this because we all have our stories. We all have lessons that we learn that we can teach others. And if we do it like that, I think everyone can write a book. So, walking this journey, I can see that my journey is little by little unfolding into something else. Um, I want to have written a few books that are so good that you do not need me, because I believe that that is possible, because books have transformed me in ways that people never could. But when I'm ready with that, I think I will be ready to like guide others who are entrepreneurs to approach business like that, because right now I have some business coaches. They're very good in strategy and everything, but everything is about money. Let's make okay, let's make 1 million this year. Let's make so the focus is money, and money never did it for me. And um, very good friends of mine, they always say, you're so resilient and you don't give up. And I'm like, I don't see it like that. I don't see my entrepreneurial journey as I never give up or I push through. No, every time when I post something or when I make something, the thought that I have is, if only one person sees it and it helps them, it's a win. So I never worry about how many people like the post or how many people bought the thing. No, if one person was blessed, I did my job for the day. So I think that's the reason why I can keep going, because I don't have like those big goals. No, I'm happy with one and I work for the one.
Yeah.
Little by little, you have a huge community around you, but the focus was always one, and
That
give everything you have for that
for that
one.
one.
Mhm.
That's incredibly inspirational. I work with entrepreneurs, and just in the past, it was as a marketing strategist. Speaking of
Mhm.
that strategy, because of course it's business, and I work with a lot of companies. But I've shifted because I see how powerful it is talking about like a personal brand, and the more passionate I am about personal branding is because I believe that it is purpose led, right? And it's not about obviously the numbers come. And what I often encounter when I work with people, with entrepreneurs or sometimes with doctors that have such a strong message and that needs to be shared, is that block. And that's why I think it's so beautiful that you mentioned, when I make a post, if only one person sees it, that's
Mhm.
worth it, because maybe it's the one person that needed to hear that, or not, maybe it's definitely the one person that needed to hear that. And so very often we let our ego stand in the way. It's not always that my clients then, or a lot of people that they're aware that it's their ego, but it shows up as, I'm afraid to show up,
Yes.
I'm embarrassed to show up.
Creative will be visible. Yes.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
visibility is a big thing because we block ourselves so much. And I think it's absolutely true. If you go from a perspective, and I think that in business as well, whatever you do, when you build the course, when you write the book, when you make the reel, or whatever it is, when you make the podcast, like whatever it is, for artists, when you make the music, if you do it from the perspective of, if it touches one person, or if it changes one life, if it can be the catalyst to somebody taking the first step to tell their story, write their story, rewrite their story, then it's absolutely worth it. And I think, just speaking of positivity, and I think that if you put it out there and you do that with all the love and passion that you have, then whatever you believe, God or the universe, it will come back to you multifold. So
Yeah.
I think it's so beautiful that you said that, and I think so many people need to hear that. I've been blessed to guide so many entrepreneurs, but the one thing that and I've doctors that have such an incredibly beautiful journey of them healing themselves, and then through medicine, and seeing, okay, if you take this path, you know and I have a good friend who's an incredible doctor. She has a movie, she has a book,
Mm.
but she absolutely hates social media. She's like, I don't, people are mean. I don't, and that's true. People are mean. People can be mean. Like when you're known, people can be mean. But and I remember saying to her, I'm like, but your message, it needs to be heard. Don't think about all the people that are naysayers. It's like that one person that you can absolutely transform their lives. And you did it through the book, and you did it through the movie,
Yeah.
But yes, of course, it feels a bit more personal when it's social. So I think to you listening or watching, this is something that, I'm going to say Yitza said, I'm going to quote it. If you do it for that one person, show up and do it because, your purpose is there for the other. We shine the spotlight on the other, and we're here to guide. I always say we're the guide, and the customer or the client or the person out there is the hero, and we're here to guide them on their journey, right? The hero's journey. So
Yes.
yeah, and also that what you said about the book, that's incredible. I haven't said it publicly yet until now. I've been, working. I have an idea for a book for years now, but getting clearer and clearer. And when you said when you turned, because I have a course out there that's like an 8 to 7 module course, and it's like,
It's a book.
duh.
Those are the 7 chapters.
Things that make you go, because I was thinking, I was envisioning, in a year or two, the book will be ready, but okay, maybe it's good. So that's sweet. Okay, so talk to us about the next chat. Well, obviously, and I can hear your sister say, just wait, hold on, let's not the next book, but let's talk about the next chapter as far as taking this book and taking your work international. Like, what is the next? You have accomplished so much
Yeah.
as a businesswoman, as a purpose-led entrepreneur. What are your, I'm not going to say the word goals because we just talked about, what do you foresee? What is your vision for the next 3 years? Where do you see yourself going?
Right now I'm really like thinking about that. Like, how am I going to do it?
Hmm.
Because, like I said, I have a lot of business coaches and I see all those strategies. I'm like, why? Because when I look at how I did it in my community, like you said, I was going every day at a certain time online and I was going live and putting my message out there. That started in COVID.
Hmm.
So it wasn't a strategy. It was my niece calling me like, Yitza, people need you, go live. And I was like, go live and do what? Just speak to them. People are desperate. And I was like, okay, but I did not do anything with it. But like 2 days later, another person sent me a message like, Yitza, my mom is like getting depressed. Could you like come online and speak live into them? And I was like, okay, these are two people telling me to do the same thing. And that's what when I started. So I did it for 3 years and 8 months. Like every morning at 6:30 a.m. I was live. I would speak for between 15 minutes to half an hour, and people would depend on it like it was like a program. So that's how I got like in percentages, but people like figures. So in percentages, I'm like, you know, I reached 10% of the community, and that's like a lot in
That's a
percentages.
lot.
So I was like, because the thing that I have to deal with, that we all have to deal with, is like social media has algorithms.
Yeah.
So if I can really, I see it when I'm walking around here with my phone and I post something, or I fly to Holland and I post something, different people see it. So it's for me living on an island with only 160,000 people, it's a challenge to
Yeah.
reach people who are not living here. I don't live in the States, and then everyone in the States sees it.
Yeah.
So I'm really thinking about that right now. Like, how am I going to do it? So it will have to be at at first it will have to be yes, like that. I was thinking about, okay, am I going to do that live thing in English? I don't know. It takes a lot of energy. It takes up a lot of energy, but it is the best marketing strategy there is. I do not believe there's a best marketing strategy than doing that and doing it live, because people
Yes.
That's authentic. They know it's you. They know it's you right now. They know they can ask a question and you answer it right now. So I'm really playing with those ideas. So am I going to do it live, um, like combined with ads, and then like ads, like maybe for a month, only ads in Miami, then only ads in Spain, and only,
Yeah.
that's what I'm playing with in my
Yeah.
head. Um, One thing that I really want to do is I have a mission. I want every house to have my book.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah,
That,
because every house will deal with loss.
yes.
So, I'm like, if every house has the book, when loss knocks on their door, the way how to deal with it will be in their hands. So,
Yes.
I'm playing with that too, how to market the book worldwide that like everyone would buy it. So I'm also going to make an online program that's like connected to the book. I'm going to do that next month too. So you can have the book or you can, buy the program. So those are the things, my plans for the future. But the marketing thing, I'm still like
Still figuring it out.
thinking about it and talking about it with a good friend of mine who is very good with computers and stuff. So yeah, I'm figuring it out.
That's that's amazing. And you know, if there's one thing that's for sure is every try is not, if it doesn't work, it's not a failure, it's a lesson, right? Like when you
Yes,
try to do something and it doesn't work as well, you know, okay, and then you can tweak it and then you can work on something else. So
exactly.
everything you try, it's just, you know, building your knowledge base about what works and what works better and what doesn't work. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I think that way of doing it is brilliant, like, you know,
Mhm.
trying to figure things out. And yes, I think ads will absolutely add to, but the organic stuff is so important, and you've already done that, and it's what is people's biggest struggle. And to show up and speak for 15 minutes, half an hour every day, that
Mhm.
is developing a muscle that's so, like, probably
Yes.
99% of people don't have. So to
Yes.
do that, you know, that is, you are way ahead of all of us,
But
including me.
I think I was lucky too. So I don't want to like make it seem like it would go the same for everyone. Because
Yeah.
remember, I started in COVID and word of mouth here, it went very fast. So within a month or within a month, I had 2,000 people listening every day. So that, sometimes there will be 1,500, sometimes 3,000. So, but that's not usual.
Yes, that's amazing. And you're right. It's there was an active audience. A lot of, especially online businesses, completely exploded during COVID because
Yes,
the
yes,
audience was so active. They were there. You know, they were
yeah,
looking for stuff online. And that's why I was so passionate about trying to speak to you, because um, I think it's so important to shine a light that when you have a business and you are an entrepreneur and you are trying to shine a light on something, for businesses, for companies, for brands, it's important that they know their North Star, like what is the
yes,
reason, like why, right? And I think it's so important as an entrepreneur that a lot of us forget that. And I think
mhm,
your journey makes it so clear, because it was such a, it was this thing, like you said, even if nobody pays me, I will do this, right? And that
mhm,
is such a strong why. Like, you know,
yes,
I mean, you're successful in that endeavor. And what I was going to say is, you know, especially now in the age of AI, and don't get me wrong, I love AI. I work with it a lot, uh,
yes.
because it makes my work, you know, it makes my
Easier,
work.
yeah,
Yes. But it is so important, that authenticity of hearing a person speak, a person that you can ask questions just like that, or they show up live authentically. I think that's so important, because that's what makes us stand out in the age of AI. So I think
yes,
that's a, yeah, to go back to that, no matter, even though it's not COVID and it's a different environment. I think it's such a great idea and absolutely, yeah, absolutely brilliant. So I can't wait to follow you when you get online at 6:30. I don't know. Is
Yes,
it going to be 6:30? Do you think?
I
That's
don't know, because the 6:30 was here. Everyone would wake up and watch it. But what I noticed is that there were some people who would tell me, Yitza, I would watch it every day after work. So
yeah,
it doesn't matter what time it is, because you can't think about all the
the
time
songs.
zones that we have. So 6:30 was just good for me,
Yeah.
because it would be just before driving my daughter to school.
Mhm.
But it's something that I still have to think about. The online part and the book part, they have to like pick up first,
Yeah.
because as long as I'm doing clients the whole day, I I know that I don't have the energy to do that too.
Yes.
So that has to pick up, so it can be in the place of the clients, and then I would have the space to really. And a psychologist, I worked in his office,
Mhm.
he mentioned the word, and I really loved it, and I held on to it when I was speaking every day. And he was like, Yitza, what you are doing is called mass psychology. You are
Wow.
doing mass psychology. So I
I love
have to let the online pick up, so I can do less clients, but I can do then more clients, but then mass psychology.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. It's what we call, instead of one-on-one, one-to-many. And that's like,
Yes,
because then your message, you can help so
exactly.
many more. That,
Yes, and what you just mentioned, AI. I'm very excited about AI too, because you can start thinking like, oh my God, but if I do mass psychology in English, what if I don't know, millions of people and they all ask me a question? No, I can teach AI how I think.
yep.
So I can give you the link, and you would can ask me questions. So I'm really excited about that part of the journey too. So
Yeah.
Maruja, I have no idea where I will be in 3 years, but I know that I'm very excited about it.
I'm so excited. On so many levels. I so connected with your story and your journey. I think I reached out to you a couple of 3 years ago when I first saw this, and I said, "Oh, you said that this resonates so much." Um, and I found an old message that I sent you. I was like, I can almost hear you, and I don't know. I'm putting this on your path. I don't know what you're gonna do with it, but it's like I can almost hear you having a podcast.
I was talking about it with a friend of mine last week, and he was like, "So you have to do podcast." But I was like, "But I live in Curacao," and he was like, "Stop seeing Curacao as a limitation. People want to come to Curacao. Let's go talk to Samuels and Merritt, and we invite them to the island, and we give them an
Absolutely.
invitation, and you talk to them on your podcast. Start thinking like that." And I was like, "Okay, that's exciting. I want to." I want to start thinking about that. So that's in the planning too.
I can't wait. Well, it was so good having you on, and just also because it resonates with me on so many levels, and I'm sure it will resonate with my community, my online community, and you're absolutely an example of turning grief into growth, but not only growth, but just passing that growth on as a catalyst to others.
Mhm.
And I think it's you know a little bit different than just entrepreneurial, just that using your experience and your journey to help others and transform others' lives, which is absolutely so beautiful. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for showing up, even if it's for that one person, because
Yes.
in doing so you have transformed so many lives. And I know that with the book now, with the Dutch version, and soon in the English version coming out this month, and when this airs it'll be June. um,
Mhm.
so I know that will transform many, many more lives. And I absolutely envision that what you have set before you, that your book will be in every home. So I wish you so much inspiration to keep giving of everything that you have received and downloaded. And
Mhm.
I can't wait to see your journey unfold. And thank you for being here on the
Yes.
podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It was great having you. For
Yes.
everybody, get on Amazon. Ik loop even met je mee. And we're going to put all the links below of Yitza's website and the book and go to Amazon, and soon you can find it in English as well. I have a lot of English speaking viewers and listeners, so you can find a book. Remind me what the name is in English again, Yitza.
I'm here for you.
I'm here for you. And what a wonderful person to have being there for you. Thank you. I wish you a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Yitza, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, bye.